Hello everybody, we're here with the Paladin Semifinals, Fnatic versus G2, so we're going to be doing a little bit of an analysis on this game. We've done one of these before, but I figured I'd try it out again just to see if I get better at it, I guess, and it's kind of fun to make these. So I haven't actually watched this game, so I'm going to be starting from scratch, no prep work or anything, so let's
one of the coolest maps in the game because
see, I don't
we
know
have
what
those extremes.
it's
we have those
Ascension
ice
Peak,
mines and timber
so
mills and stuff that we
gotta
never
keep in mind
see.
that
But
snipers
most
are
of
going to be really
those
good here.
are just kind of because of a negative connotation and player
Single point,
perception of
single
But
tank
this
can
map
work
is
really well
cool
here because
because
the
of
point
just
is
the
just so
size of the
good, and
capture
you can
point and the
use
cover
those two
and how
stacks
much
as
it just
cover. So
affects the game in an
I'd
extreme
imagine
way. We
Fnatic
saw a
is going to be
capture
leaning
point take
towards that since
upwards
they
of
like to run
3
a
minutes
solo
yesterday,
tank.
which is by no means the record. I think the
Willow
record
ban from
was
G2, that's
Renegades
interesting.
and SK on Jaguar Falls, I think, took
It
6
is
minutes to
sort of a
capture one
damage
time.
meta right now,
Yeah,
I guess,
but
since
that,
there's so many
is an
DPS
extreme
characters that
outlier,
are
and you see
really
this
good, but
consistently on this map, and it just
Willow
changes the
first ban
way
is
you
interesting.
can frontline on
And
this map
Furia.
because
Furia
there's
is a
so
bit more
much
standard
inbuilt
just because
protection. You can
she's
make
so. I think
frontliners that aren't
this is
necessarily
after they
those
nerfed
big
her
point
from
frontlines
50 to
like Inara
25%,
work.
but
And I think one of the interesting
like
things
even
to note is
even
Fnatic's
that, she's
early
still
ban of
very
Furia.
strong.
Obviously, a
The
lot of
Willow ban
priority from
indicates to
G2.
me
They
that
were actually
G2
first picking
wants to go
Furia
with
when
more
available, and Fnatic knows that.
point-heavy
They're one
composition.
of those teams that does their homework. The
So
Willow
we'll
ban from
see if they
G2
like
also
don't
notable.
ban any
Who
tanks,
would have thought we'd
maybe.
just be in the world of Willow bans? This such a high-profile
Drogo's
tournament
so
here, and Drogos
the only
going as well.
real
So the question is,
blaster
who's
available
taking a
right now
hit
is
from
Bomb
G2's
King.
ban?
A lot of respect
But
to
you don't really
Sheka. You
want to
gotta
first
wonder
pick a
if
Bomb
there's
King,
another
so
layer to this
let's
strategy
say
of
that
get this
favors
guy
Fnatic a bit.
uncomfortable, make him
Okay,
have
so let's pause this and go over the bans. So G2 bans out 2 blasters, which is really interesting. You kind of see what the Willow ban was for, considering they want to first pick a Buck, which is fine, I guess. If you really want the Buck that badly, I don't know if it's worth it. We'll have to see. It also, you can't really counterplay a Buck too much in the draft. I mean, you could go for something a bit more tank heavy, I guess, but I feel like if Fnatic decide to go with a really tank heavy composition, that would work out really well because they could pick up like a tank and BK right now, and then then G2 would have no blasters, and that could work out well. Fnatic going for something pretty standard, I guess. Furia ban because I mean, it's hard to call a healer broken, but it's Furia. Like her healing numbers aren't great when you compare it to all the rest of them, but the shield it honestly should be a talent instead of a regular card. And then Khan just because his ult, honestly. And he's a decent frontline, but I mean it's like Makoa is the hook champion with the turtle attached, but Khan is like an ult champion with Khan attached, if that makes any sense. So we'll see how Fnatic respond to this. I would expect a BK and maybe Makoa, since Drogoz is banned, and Makoa wouldn't have to do that little awkward dance with the ults. Then I'd imagine they'd also want to take the only blaster. Then they'd let G2 get like, I don't know, what's good, Cassie, and
Deal's not been about Makoa this
tournament.
He certainly hasn't.
He really is not
Nara's decent on
overstating
this
the
map.
value
Barrack
of it.
is decent.
So Fnatic will have to
Pretty much
think
every
about
tank
this.
is
I don't know if it's going to be
at least
as
somewhat
automatic
viable just
as
because
it would
they
have
can use
been
the
in times past.
pillars
The hook
as
hitbox
cover.
has changed. He's lost a little bit of health.
So we'll see what
He's
they
not the
decide
old
to go
turtle.
with.
He's getting old, you know? He's feeling his age.
Getting a little older, but I mean, speaking of age, Torvald was
Taking their time
played.
with this.
Had some interesting moments.
So
Not sure Fnatic will go
usually,
surprise doesn't strike.
usually
me
going
as
into
the
drafts,
theme
teams
for this
at
one.
this sort of level, they have their
Consistent,
plan
steady
going. Like they know that
performing.
okay,
That would lead
we're
me
going
towards
to
potentially
try to go
a
with a single
Barrack
tank
pickup
composition
later
with a
on
sniper.
for
You know,
Fnatic,
they'll
and maybe
have
a
a plan
prioritization
going
of
into
their
this.
DPS. Maybe
You can kind of see that G2 did with
wow, the Barrack
first pick of the Bucks.
the Barrack
So,
very
Barrack
early,
Cassie.
and the Cassie to go along
Okay.
with it.
2 picks definitely with good flexibility for Fnatic as well as strong
So
takeaways.
Barrack is setting them up for a solo
There's so
tank,
much
and
left
then
in the
Cassie
pool
is
for eye drop
just
bodies who G2 will be fishing
Cassie,
for a pick
you know,
for. They've
very
already
strong
hovered
on any
Leon
map,
for him. So
especially because she can
this
take
is less
advantage
of a takeaway,
the
more
long
something
range
that Fnatic
on
I
this
think
one.
just want. It's got the inherent anti-heal.
So because they pick up
Buck,
Barrack,
say,
which
Leon
they're probably going to go solo tank with that, they
better,
like to do
more
that,
consistent inherent
means
anti-heal.
that
If that's
they're
what
not
they were
going to be
looking for,
as
as
weak
well as
to
Enlightenment just gives you
BK,
insane
which is good,
turnaround in a 1v1.
since he's the only real
Really
blaster
excited
left.
too, because prioritizing the small Damba early gives them a lot of
But
flexibility
Leon,
later on in the draft in regards to their front
I guess
line
they're trying to
choices.
take away
Fnatic now
counters
obviously have to take
the
either their
Buck,
second
but
front line if
Maldamba's
they want it, otherwise give that prime.
Maldamba's strange because Fnatic probably wouldn't pick him. Or, okay, because this is interesting, because Furia's banned, right? So, and usually you have Maldamba and Furia as your two big throughput healers. But if we imagine that Maldamba isn't there, then the top two healers after Furia are Damba and Genos. So if G2 wants to go into a double tank composition, then they have to either have Genos heals, which really doesn't work out that well with double tank unless you have Khan, because he can kind of boost those heals a bit in the same way that Genos Pip does. But taking the Damba this early means that Fnatic can't take the Damba away from them, if that makes any sense. So they're either forcing Fnatic into a Genos, which I feel like Fnatic would be fine with considering they're running a solo Barrack, or at least it looks like they're planning on running a solo Barrack. And if they do want to go into double tanks, they'd have to pick up something like a Grover or a Saris, which is like B tier, I guess. So it's kind of strange. I guess they're leaving their tanks open because they know that Fnatic does want, to prioritize their DPS, and they'd kind of be fine with whatever healer, but this looks strange, but I get the logic behind it, but I just don't know if it's the right call. It's kind of hard to judge if it would be because we don't get to know what Fnatic would pick if G2 didn't pick the Damba.
Will have their healer, but most likely will be
this is basically saving
This is really
double tank for them.
Definitely
they might go double tank. I don't know if
very well with Buck.
Because double tank lets you control the point a lot better. Lets you control both entrances to the point.
Picked up so far.
So Fnatic is covering double
was going
tank.
to go late.
Yes,
Like
strange to see Makoa go this late.
Barrack coming through.
It also does force Fnatic. Okay, so this is So I kind of do like the double pick actually, because now Fnatic does have solo Genos with double tank. And I mean, to be fair, one of those tanks is Barrack, who does have a decent amount of self-sustain, but
I think a leap ahead of G2 in this draft. What can
G2 we'll have to see if
here with their last two?
Because usually when you play Genos with double tank, nobody is ever at full health, because he just doesn't have the throughput for that. But it should be interesting.
He's been asked to flex around a lot.
If you take the Bomb King, which is solid against double tank, it's the only blaster left.
I mean, Doseps will go to the Bomb King, he'll go to the shot, he'll go to Cassie when it's time, and Fernando being locked in last, that screams Cuss Cutie.
Is interesting.
It absolutely does.
I don't know why they
such a good Bomb
pick Fernando over an R
here.
here.
Imagine it's him on the God, it's tough.
You wonder here because there could be Doseps transitioning
so a pick
onto the...
I can't talk. A Pip pick is really solid because I mean, they don't really need a blaster because G2 only have a Fernando, and Pip can do, Pip's a solid DPS, especially against Bomb King and maybe not Leon, but slow against those two characters is just, especially if you have high ground, Pip can do work. I really like Fnatic's draft. Like, if you look at their the middle three there, Cassie, Makoa, Genos, those are all A tier, but G2, because they kind of sacrificed their front line to get their DPS, right? So I don't know if their DPS is good enough to warrant that. If they had an Inara, I feel like it'd be so much better, but I don't get what Nando is actually going to do over Inara, because Nando's going to want to contest point against the Barrack, right? And Inara can just do that better, right? I mean, this is really strange to me. I think that Fnatic did a really good job of drafting. The Barrack first pick was a little bit surprising, but I did give them a lot of options. The Damba pick, I think, is what really kind of turned this draft into what it is. Kind of forced Fnatic into a Pip, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Fnatic's comp has a lot of flexibility. They can either go very aggressive with, diving with Pip, Makoa, Cassie. Those characters can all change their playstyle to be very aggressive. But they could also play from the point with Cassie playing as more the backline DPS. But G2, I'm not even sure what their composition wants to do, because they have a lot of damage up front with Leon and Bomb King. And they have kind of a solo Buck, what's going to go with the Buck, Because if you want to flank on Ascension Peak, you have to go for a hard flank, and They could send Leon with the Buck, I guess, but then you're missing out on a lot of DPS on the front line. Leon doesn't have the mobility to get out. I guess they could just try to send Buck by himself, turn like maybe the Cassie around, and then just try to blow up the front line with their, more sustain. Well, not necessarily more sustain, but more damage at least. I think that G2 got outdrafted, to be honest. Because they banned 2 blasters for the Buck. They're heavily relying on this Buck to do pretty much to hard carry them. So their win condition is going to be either the Buck getting a pick in the backline, or I don't know, getting a pick on the front line with like Beyond, BK, and Nando all focusing the same target. But then these aren't easy targets to focus down. So then on the side of Fnatic, your win conditions are either getting a hook or blowing up the Fernando, right? Or just peeling successfully for your backline, Cassie and Genos, assuming Cassie does play on the backline. Looking at alts, G2 has 3 good alts in Leon, Dombo, and Bomb King. Fnatic has Ancient Rage and Pip alt, which is, I mean, Chicken is just, it should be an insta-win on a fight. Take out the Nando, Makoa, or anybody looks at him with the Pip, and he's dead, even with the CC reduction. So, if Fnatic plays this right, they should always be getting the first pick on the fight with a Chicken after alts come up after the first round. And even with team fights, Pip can easily build up 2 alts in the same game, in the same round, sorry. So, Fnatic, this is going to be kind of interesting, I think. It depends on a lot how they're going to play this, because they have a lot of versatility, but
the Leon, if I was going to make a random call,
myself at this point, so
Bodies didn't have the best Leon
let's actually hop into the game
yesterday.
Alright, so we're in game. So
and I love the point that Desk was talking about, the fact that Pip just hasn't really been as apparent so far in this land, despite quite a few of the players having tremendous experience with him in the past, including Bittner, who's put in some work with this Pip.
Let's look at positioning here. So the Buck is kind of by himself. They sent Makoa on that flank route, Barrack to point with the Cassie, which means that the Genos and Pip are playing together on somewhere on the right. Doseup should be able to get out. I mean, he's not going to 1v1 a Buck. Or wait, so he's not going to 1v1 the Makoa, so they're going to be doing their own thing. And I think that kind of favors... Who does that favor? I feel like that favors Fnatic, because if Buck is distracted by Makoa, then G2 doesn't have any flank pressure, and Fnatic can all just look in one direction. But Doseup is going to win that battle over time, so maybe Fisheko is going to have to go peel for him. So, but they could easily just take out the Buck once he... like, if Doseup messes up his cooldowns, then he's dead, straight up. Okay, so they are grouping up pretty heavily. So this is it's kind of like they're playing 4-1 almost. And I don't know, they're kind of just letting Fnatic sit on point right now.
Rotating towards Bugsy first on the sideline.
Fnatic's rotating.
Some shots to the far cutie, but right now rolling around.
Being able to get at least a little bit of an advantage overall in terms of the damage, but you can see Fnatic not having too much.
That's a big hook, and there you go. That's one of their win conditions, getting a hook. That's just Makoa. Cutie's low on point, he's got it back off. He's kind of split from his team. Oh, eye drop bodies went down. How did that happen? So Bittner's just sitting over here.
Not having a Buck online makes G2's draft kind of fall down in terms
of shot once. That should be able to heal that up. Okay, so bodies just that's just good play from Bittner, and bodies can get out soon enough. So that's kind of a stagger. And Fnatic's just kind of holding map control right now.
And you can
see playing kind of passive.
How important it was for
but you can see Barrack's just using the statue as a shield while he gets healed up.
Being very highly prioritized by G2. Makoa went so
he
far
kind of gets blown
into
up,
the draft
but
honestly, I was kind of wondering
messes
whether
up
or
his
not
jump,
Fnatic
I guess. Did he have recovery up?
So far into the draft.
Oh,
To be coming through Buck, being very highly
so he leaps in.
Makoa went so far into the draft that honestly I was kind of wondering whether or not Fnatic were going to pull it out, but that hook just gives so much. Deal is playing and he's on point.
GT does have control of the point right now, but
some long shots of those potions from Pip, and
how long is that going to last?
Down to about 50% HP.
Evil Eye
69% Fnatic about to match that.
overextends.
Sheko gets a double kill, looking for another. Gripped up onto Cuss, but he gets the kill.
So Cutie sees somebody low in the back line, then decides to dive on that. Is that Fsheko got? I'm sorry, Evil Eye got Fsheko low enough. Cutie dives him. That's a pick. But then he has to overextend to get that kill. Oh, nice done. Better shield.
Have the 2-for-1 so far.
A lot of back and forth. Polymorph already gonna come down with the Evil Mojo, and that's gonna be an easy kill to pick up. Vex.
And then that's just clean up on two stragglers.
Really contest. They don't have enough time, so G2 lose this first point.
It felt like G2 always were one down. And like when Fnatic did lose somebody, it was because it was like a trade, right? But then to get the kill, because Cutie had to overextend.
Much more amped to just target
so
him
Fnatic's just
early,
gonna be setting up his
use
own, playing together.
Whether it's an ultimate or
That's
not,
kind of aggressive.
just to get him off the table as a threat. Fsheko
Come on,
picks him up again.
And it's just good homework when it comes down to it. Again, Drop Bodies hasn't necessarily been having the best.
So they're playing very aggressive, but they're not really overextended just because they're together.
That's not going to be as big
So
of a
just
threat.
a nice shot from Evil Eye.
Given the right scenarios,
Did the Feel overextend? Where was Feel?
Again, Drop Bodies hasn't necessarily been having the best Leon games the last few days, so being able to recognize that that's not going to be as big of a threat. Evil Eye on Bond King, when given the right scenarios, can do a ton. But
hold up, I wasn't looking at what happened to Cutie.
So
he's low, puts up his shield,
the last few days, so being able to recognize that that's
gets
not
healed
going
up
to be as
by
big of a threat.
Vex.
Evil Eye on Bomb King, when given the right scenarios, can do a ton, but they're shutting him down. They're making it so there is absolutely no way for him to do anything. Bugsy gonna end up falling off of the map there, but they got Vex to throw out that Dread Serpent.
Seems about right.
Pretty much nothing.
It was very much a defensive Dread Serpent in the side.
Let's see, what else? Fnatic have, through time and space, probably going to be one of using that soon.
Almost this shielding type aspect where you think that's not going to be a game-changing
G2
ultimate right there. But
King Bomb, that'd probably be a good ult to use if you can get a pick on anybody. It's kind of going to be hard to use since like, it's either a tank or somebody has mobility.
A few G2 players in the side. Evil Eye picks it up on
Sheko goes down. How that happened?
They know you don't have it up.
Sitting at the bottom near the cart, which isn't in a great position, and then Evil Eye just wins that duel, I guess.
Evil Eye picks it up onto Fsheko.
Just this high ground position is so strong.
Looking for potentially 2 kills.
When they get chipped too low, okay, because they're G2. Let's look at their health bars. His Vex is there, but he doesn't have line of sight. No, he does heal up Evil Eye. It's not quickly enough, and then while he's healing up, Evil Eye, Drop Bodies gets put low.
It's just the pressure they're
Field
putting it
cleans
down.
up,
Even if you're missing hooks right there,
that's fine because this fight is pretty much over.
Cuss is pretty much isolated.
Except Dosups is doing bug
shots,
things.
and that recovery is going to keep him alive.
I guess.
Nothing comes out of it.
At least there is action coming on the other side.
Vex is out of position, but I mean his team is mostly dead, so can't really blame him on that.
And the dodge of the hook for Vex, who does go down to Jera right
that was kind of weird because Cutie was way in the back line. That was strange.
They were strong enough to hold on their own.
Fnatic should be able to push this in if they use Evil Mojo, but then it's like, do you want to use that on the point fight? I'm sorry, on push, just because it's so good on the point fight.
With the way things are going right now, it feels like there's a lot of pressure. And there should be on Dosups to perform here, but he hasn't been able to do it because Fnatic are just shutting him down. Anytime he gets seen, anything that he tries to accomplish, everyone on Fnatic tries to get rid of him. And once he's gone, the rest of them lose that ability to push forward. Drop Bodies, Evil Eye can't really do too much because they're being held back the entire time.
They focused down the Nando.
Gap, and Fnatic just fills it with all of the damage they want.
Fsheko was very accurate with this Cassie play. We saw that
solo tank is a lot harder to pull off than double tank.
Which
nice shot.
This man is the one to always take the reins on this.
So he didn't have to use ults, which is actually huge.
Still has a lot of other things in his
this is maybe the reason that I might have liked to see Nana a bit more, because she can sustain a bit longer. She also has her wall to it's pretty much Nando's shield, same thing. I mean, well, it's the same use, get out of combat, or not out of combat, out of caught. And she also has her CC immunity on her right click, because if you go solo tank, you probably should be going Mother's Guard. So G2 has to either send somebody with dose ups so they can pressure up Makoa, but Makoa has ult this time. And Cuss should die immediately thanks to Polymorph.
It's hard to tell even how good his play on this buck is right now because he keeps getting shut down so often. It's not even giving him an opportunity to get online. But here's an
I'd say this favors
no kills just yet.
G2 probably.
On the
just this
objective.
poking.
Checo continues to preoccupy those outside barriers.
Just because they have. I mean, they don't have as much on range actually. It's kind of like Leon versus Cassie. I'd actually give that edge to Cassie though.
But he has to
Plus
stay
they got
alive. I think that's going to be the hard part. Full clip right now, so if he pops that Buck Wild, it'll be beneficial. But still not really a good place for him to go in and fight.
He knows that
so he can't really go in right now, so they're just kind of looking at each other menacingly.
Just so that he keeps him at all angles. Bugsy notices
both
that
tank
there's
siding man statues.
trying to steal his job, basically.
Big chicken.
Lots
of okay, hold up. Lots of ults. Evil, no. That's a nice hook. Okay, we're gonna have to go back and watch this. Everybody just pressed E at the same time. What just happened? Fnatic's gonna come out on top? Like, wow.
This is just one of those moments Vex and Cuts together can try to live off of they're getting chased down. Feel does not want to let this slip away. They're going to be healing, but they are locked in a room with pincers coming in. The spikes collapse.
There too. Okay, let's go back and look at what the hell happened. So, I'm gonna play this actually, but I'm gonna play this slower.
Clip right now.
So Dose-Ups is just poking. Happens around here, right? Nice positioning from that's Jared, isn't it? Has to leap out. No ults are being Scout got used, which is fine. Tanks are looking at each other on point. I think I went back too far. Still just poking right now. Okay, so Feel and Bittner decide to just go in at the same time as Cuss and Evil Eye use their own ults. So Evil Eye probably saw 2 targets dive in and was like, hey, I'm gonna ult these guys. Cuss Cutie's ulting to save Dose-Ups. Fnatic is going in with the chicken, so that's a pretty telegraphed play. Like when you see a Pip weightlessing towards your entire team, you know, it's somewhat obvious. If Koa didn't have ult, this might not work out, but because they do have ults, then, you know, they're kind of allowed to do this and not really... I mean, it's a lot... Because you can just use Koa ult and stay alive, and pretty much everybody else has to run, so... Let's see how this works out. Yeah, okay, so... Cuss Cutie's ult does save Dose-Ups. Vex ults for Peel, but it only hits Pip. Evil Eye just kind of doesn't want to ult the Leviathan Makoa, but misses, I guess. Nice hook. Let's look at what's happening on point, actually, because Barrack's really low. That's Leon and Nando pushing him. So, Vex and Evil Eye are looking at Feel. Dose-Ups is looking at, that's Cassie and... Is that Genos? Okay. So this is a very split fight. I can't imagine what comms must be like. Feel's just taking advantage of... Oh, Bittner's with him. Okay, so Bittner's got out of the down ball, and now we got like a 2-man squad going over here with Feel and Bittner. And Jera and Fish are Fisheko. They're kind of sticking together. Jera's just trying to survive from the Buck ult, which he does. Then Bugsy is surviving on point against Bodies and Cuss Cutie. This is very split. I don't even know what to say here because Fnatic does have the stronger ults, and in a scrappy fight like this, it comes down to mechanics most of the time. So Fnatic gets a pick because Makoa ult. Drop Bodies gets too low. Dose-Ups runs out of cooldowns. And Fnatic doesn't lose anybody, which is really impressive. So that was strange because they could have gotten the pick onto Pip if they grouped up more, but they also had the ult in Makoa to deal with. That was... I mean, Fnatic just have the better comp for scrappy fights like this because the more tanks you have in that, usually the better. I mean, you know, you don't want 5 tanks, but like 2 tanks usually beats out the 1 tank in situations like that. I don't even know what to say about that. It was so scrappy, it's hard to like actually analyze that unless you have like a third-person point of view. Vex slithering around the corner instead of just slithering in where he'd still be vulnerable after he got out of sliver. Solid, and then this is just cleanup. I like the play from Fnatic to come around though. So this is just cleanup. I like how Bittner and Fuel are playing together.
And they both die.
Trap Bodies gets a nice kill, but it's still G2's down a lot, and they were fighting from the point.
He's not the one they needed sitting on the objective anyway. They still had Bugsy there. Captures it. It's 3-0 so far.
And G2's kind of staggering a little bit, so they just have to group up. Yeah, you can see there.
G2,
backing up.
You look and you're wondering who's standing out.
So this is essentially free push until you reach
the
stairs on the rock there. Nice try by Fuel.
It's just in that awkward moment where it kind of goes traded ult for ult, where Fnatic just recognizes what G2 are trying to accomplish. They read it and they just shrug it off. There's a point King Bomb goes into the Makoa in his ancient rage, has that CC immunity, has that extra health, so Theo just shrugs it off and keeps swinging. He doesn't care about that.
G2 doesn't really have the poke to deal with that.
You see the alternate side where Evil Mojo came down and you have that Immortal coming through, keeping everyone alive, but it didn't accomplish
really well.
Nothing G2 was able to do to really drive that home, while Fnatic
G2 has control of high ground, but Fnatic is still somewhat healthy.
A little bit of regression, but Fnatic, they need this time to rebuild some of their ultimate charges anyway. Just get a couple picks right now. It's a 1-for-1. Well,
that's going to favor Fnatic more because G2 only has solo tank and plus one down.
But Fnatic, they need this time to rebuild some of their ultimate charges anyway. Just get a couple picks right now. It's the 1-for-1.
Nice angle on them.
2-for-2, basically.
Body's only starts looking at him now.
Go down, but the sustain is still here for both sides.
Barrick gets forced out by BK.
So Fnatic's just sitting over here having no issues at all finding these shots. And again, all
you
really need is a little bit of poke in areas like this, and it's going to work out well. 11, 3, and 7 now has done nothing but get kills or help out with eliminations overall for his team. And has topped the damage so far. Just standing on the side, and no one's being able to pay attention to him. They have to look elsewhere, and it's not working out well for G2.
Oh, he's dead. Hold up, what?
For his team and has topped the damage.
Was he in the backline? Hold up. What is he? Because he's right over here. So G2 is fighting without a tank right now. And sure, Jera's getting doved on, but I assume somebody's peeling for him?
So far, just standing on the side and no one's being able to pay attention to him.
He gets absolutely blown up by something. I assume that's Fish Echo, because
look elsewhere, and it's not working out well.
That's just really. Oh, Bittner's coming back.
In front of Fnatic, who are
and
just going to focus him down
your
to the
team
end
is because Fnatic can peel through support, I guess.
So. Kills. There's no Nando around to put himself in front of that payload, so it's continuing
and
to
because
move at a
they
really
didn't have a
steady
front line.
pace. Vasheko's taking the positioning that Bittner did last time they were at the tail end of this push.
Fnatic's
Most of
positioning.
G2 esports are right there outside of the spawn doors, finally sending
Scout, I guess,
forward, but he
that's
thinks
fine,
about
it's not
half
the
his
most
damage. Red
impactful.
on the side, attempt to tumble on through, but Doseps and bodies pick up some kills.
Fnatic was trying to take
this.
this.
It's going to be answered 2-for-2 so far, and you're losing Doseps' Evil Eye in all of that process. Cuss not going to have the best health bar as of right now, getting shut down. The shield goes up, they get rid of Bugsy. It does force a little bit of a retreat for Fnatic, but 20 seconds left, Feels responded back with them. They can regroup.
So this should be a reset. I don't know. Fnatic might be able to touch.
They were able to get the kill to force the rest of Fnatic back. That allowed G2 to open up the area a bit more. They were all so
G2 had to use ults for that defense though. So we are going to touch, and we are going to use ults.
But here's another ultimate as Theo pops
but Bittner gets picked off, which is big. Evil is left with half health.
Way out a bit, but luckily gets some heals. And Jera's in the back with that 26 streak dome shield
G2
directly in the
that's still Fnatic using ults.
Objective as Fnatic
goes down.
starts to shoot his shots away. I drop bodies.
Fnatic's going to go down. Thanks to
time and space has yet to be fired
Cuss
so
is still
far.
up.
Could make a big difference. It's just
Fnatic's
Jera
just
and Theo
dropping.
standing on the point. They have reinforcements coming in. Bittner is going to be around the corner waiting for that damage. The shield is up. They're getting some kills. They're pushing them back, but G2 are still holding. They have respawn proximity, so they're controlling this fight.
What's Fnatic still in this, to be honest?
Another Dread Serpent within that time.
Still.
And G2 esports managed to get that.
G2 only had 3 up at the time of that.
Was... I want to give all credit to the fact that they're respawning there, right?
It's like
very
you
walk out of the base and you're going to be there in the fight versus Fnatic being there as long as they were. I still feel personally, like Jera has been holding on to this
drop bodies kind of forced
a little bit too much. There's kind of that ult economy that we always talk about, where it's just like when you
Bugsy went down earlier. I didn't quite catch that. So
you only wait for a little bit. Fnatic is usually one of the ones that wait, but that feels like it's been sat on just for a little bit too long. He still has. I don't think he's fired one, or if he has, he's only fired one. And as of right now, even 2-0-28, you still need that presence.
30.
So G2 playing together didn't work. Playing 4-1 didn't work. Fnatic's always kind of just been playing in like groups of 2 with Bugsy by himself. So this time they are going to send somebody with Dose Up, but it's the solo tank, so the rest of the backline is kind of exposed, and they're not really... Whoa, okay. So G2 decides to send somebody with Dose Ups, which would be great if there was somebody else contesting point. Because as it is right now... So, oh, they sent Vex over that side too, I guess. So Evil Eye and Bodies are playing together, which is fine, because they can kind of protect each other and keep each other alive while the rest of the team hopefully gets a pick on something. But Jera, I mean, they still got Chicken, so.
Tricky thing is, Fnatic used a lot of ults.
Where is Jera? Vex.
Push it through in the last minute.
Okay, yeah, he's there too. Notice that Cuskewty and Dose Ups both have to use their defensive cooldowns right away. And Bittner's gonna come in with an ult.
But they took all of G2 Esports ultimates in the process. There's the time and space.
Catch Dose
away,
Ups.
gets the double kill. Theo finishing off Cuskewty, and G2
Bittner
Esports are left
bodies
with
does
nothing
take
but
out
Evil
Pacheco,
Eye
but like
and he's just decided to
too
roll away
late.
in
So
the meantime.
that did work, except Fnatic had ults.
Honestly, they have no reason to really worry about it just yet. Someone, as long as they remember he's back there, they're going to be relatively safe. They can watch where G2 are coming in. They're at 75% already on the point. They've got distinct control. And unless Evil Eye is going to make some insane play from behind him, I don't understand what he's trying to accomplish.
Does make it up onto Pacheco. There is a from Theo, but has to put the shield up as he took too much damage. Pip starting to get chunked down.
So they're both low, and then they get collapsed down. Bugsy's kind of low behind there. He's going to get collapsed down. Now they come back next to it. So something put...
Evil Eye is going to make some insane play from. Remember, he's back there.
So something put Theo and Bittner really low.
G2 are coming in. They're at 75% already on the point.
They're both sitting on the point there. Jera and Bugsy are just capping point, which is fine. Evil Eye. Oh, Evil Eye. Did you just kill Pacheco off respawns? He did. Okay. So that's a good solo play by Evil Eye. Puts them at an advantage here. Bittner is kind of by himself. Cuskewty rushes him.
Unless Evil Eye is going to make some insane play from behind him, I don't understand what he's trying to accomplish.
Wild did put them low, I guess.
From Theo, but has to put the shield up as he took too much damage. Pip starting to get chunked down as well. 2 fall for Fnatic. G2 Esports bring themselves back into this fight, sending Cuskewty onto the objective as Evil Eye
gets cleaned up after they take care of Theo and Bittner.
And I Drop Bodies picks one up too.
King Bomb charged up 99% though for Fnatic, so you have to stand on this point. You have
Fnatic might be able to get back, but G2 does have comeback mechanic. Like, Fnatic has to go now.
But Evil Eye is going to go ahead and press the gas pedal, try to get in there and stop Fnatic from coming in and reclaiming this point.
A little bit of a hitch on the way, and
Evil Eye?
Once again, kills off Dose-Ups, but Evil Eye is going to go ahead and press the gas pedal, try to get in there and stop Fnatic from coming in and reclaiming this point.
A little bit of a hit.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but he did stun Pip, right? Yeah. He's one shot too. And he just poppy bombs away. Tries to go after Jera and gets picked off by Bittner, who's 1 HP. Okay. Well, that was a misplay. In the meantime, though, Bodies is somehow taking out Bugsy and Pacheco. I don't think we're going to be able to see that just because we were looking at Evil Eye in the backline, but...
Double kill, Theo pops the ultimate.
Vex is out of position. Cuskewty's going to get staggered.
In pursuit of
he has to contest now because it's 99-99.
A little too long for their comfort, but still, now all that's alive is Joe.
Dose-Ups can't survive for that long.
And that 99% is going to turn to 100 as Fnatic take game number 1.
That was a strange game, I guess, but
once you get there, you can kind of stop
not being able to
a
contest
little
point.
bit. Like, you still need to put that
G2
pressure,
had
you
to play
still
that
need to
really
fight back,
aggressively.
but you could tell Fnatic were able to approach that a lot
They
calmer,
had
even with the
nobody to
comeback
go with
mechanic,
Dose
even with
and
what G2
Fnatic
had in their
could just play
favor,
together a lot
they just
better.
haven't been winning
So
these
G2
fights
had
enough
to
to
send
make that
somebody
big
with
of a difference,
Dose.
and you can kind of see it.
They decided to send
They don't,
Cutie, which meant
I
they
feel
had
like
no tank.
know what exactly went
They had
wrong, other than the fact that
a
Dose, I
flank
feel like,
Nando
never
instead.
truly got to get any experience on
Fnatic
the Buck.
put
He never
together
got
all
to go in, he never got to
grouped
fight.
together against the Buck, but that was very scrappy. So I feel like G2 got outdrafted, more like they outdrafted themselves with the Drogas and Willowbound, but and Buck just didn't do enough against, against Fnatic. That was clever by G2 to draft them all down, but they tried to take the sustain away from Fnatic. Then Fnatic picked up a pip, and I'd love to see the stats for this, like if Buck did enough, if how close Fasheko and Drop Bodies were, because they were performing very similar roles on Leon and Cassie. I also kind of want to see like how much healing Tenor did, just because I don't know. I feel like Jera also did. Jera even die that game? I don't even know.
A couple of times.
Let's move on to the next one. Damage. That was an interesting game. I don't get why they didn't take Makoa over Inara, because I feel like the hook and the ult is just that good. They wouldn't have as much sustain on point, which I guess is something that they prefer, but I feel like Fnatic got pretty much everything that they wanted. But I also feel like G2 got everything that they wanted, Like, look at their comp. The weakest, I'd say the weakest champion that they have is Fernando. And that's fine. That's so good. So, the only problem with G2's comp that I can see is that they don't have anybody who's going to be able to finish up kills. Like, they have Cassie, but Cassie is more of a backline DPS in this map. But I'm only talking about the point fight because that's really the only fight that you think about when you're drafting, just because it's so important. But they have Bomb King, who can play a bit more divey, but he's going to have to contend with Luminary Zen. Nando can also go with the BK, and then you have a contesting point, but it's with Euphoria, so both of these compositions are so damn strong. And these bans, they didn't ban anything that was, A tier, I don't get how Fnatic let G2 get Cassie, Furia, Makoa. That's kind of insane. They had to get Khan, and Khan's the only really, S tier champion on Fnatic's draft. But G2 is Cassie, Furia, Makoa, and those are all, worthy first picks. So, the way that this is going to play out is going to be interesting, because I feel like even if G2 takes the first point, Fnatic's going to be able to defend because they're competent in its Ice Mines. As long as they don't get staggered too bad. That's really the only way that you lose an Ice Mines farm. You get converted on Ice Mines is you get staggered really badly. So, but once ults come on, G2 is going to always be one down at the beginning of the fight because Khan ult. Then Fnatic should be able to win the fight from there. And then they should be able to zone well enough because, it is Ice Mines. If you can zone, if you win the first point and you zone well enough, then you pretty much have the point. G2 is going to have to find a way to get into Fnatic's backline, because they can put Fnatic low, but unless they can find a way to actually get kills, Fnatic will be able to get topped off, and their tanks will be able to sustain on point long enough for the backline to get topped off and come back to the fight. So it always seems like Fnatic's drafts are just so good. They have everything that they could want. But G2, it feels like Fnatic had a plan, and G2 looked at a tier list. It's still a really solid draft, but that's more because of the nature of the champions that they picked, and less because they know what they want to do with it. Fnatic feels like they're like, okay, we need something that's staying off point. We're taking Khan because Khan's OP. We're taking a flank, we can take a Genos now, which will enable this. We can take a Pip, so we can contest point. And G2's like, ooh, Cass is open. Ooh, Furia's open. Oh my gosh, they left Makoa open. Oh, let's grab the only blaster left. Oh, Fernando, I guess we need the second tank. Alright, what are we going to do with these 5 now? But I feel like Fnatic knows what they're doing going in. And I mean, G2, I mean, that's probably like exaggerating a bit. Like, G2 they do know what they're doing. They're professionals, obviously. But like, I don't know. They're going to have a much harder time executing. Like, they could have picked up, like, if they knew that they wanted to, like, sustain more on point and maybe have Makoa go around, then they could have picked Term, I guess, but I don't know. It's, I definitely give the edge in the draft to Fnatic, because, especially once alts come online, then they have Pip alt, too. That's another insta-good. G2 for impactful alts have, I mean, Furia alt is really good, but it's like, that's not going to win you the fight. Koa alt is really solid, especially, like, they're going to have to alt Koa off the map, unless they, because Koa alt is a way that you can get into the backline. You can just alt and hold W. But it feels like Makoa and Fernando both want to dive the backline, but one of them's going to have to contest the point, otherwise Fnatic's just going to pull in Nara and just sit there. So the way Fnatic wins this is Zen beats the BK on the right side in your boxes, or they get picks with alts. And they do have a lot of pick potential. You know, they could go cripple Nara, they could throw somebody with Khan, they could chicken them, they can grip them, and Zen alt is decent. Fnatic, I love the draft so much. G2, the way they win this is either Fnatic messes up and they peek when they shouldn't, and then Cassie and BK blow them up. They could potentially out-sustain them on the point, like if Makoa and Fernando both go to point, especially backed by Furia, and Cassie and BK both look a point, then they could maybe out-sustain the Khan and Anara. But that's a lot of damage coming in, so I'm curious to see how G2 is going to play this. It feels like looking at Fnatic's draft, you can pretty much tell what they're going to do, but the only difference maybe is going to be like where the Khan goes, like maybe where the tank's positioned, because Anara could go hot. But I mean, this is why I feel like this is why Fnatic is at the top, because the drafts are so good. I haven't seen that sort of thing from G2. Why does my mouse keep doing that? Anyways, let's head on into the game. Alright, so...
And of course, this is one of those things that being able to get Makoa and Bomb King and Furia.
Another insta-gib, because this way they have 3 with Guillotine Zen alt, Khan alt, and Chicken. Then that's, you know, a pick every fight. So that's pretty solid. Mother's Grace instead of Cribble though, which is fine, especially against BK alt, I guess. Feels going Leviathan, standard. Chain Reaction is actually going to be really good, since it's Evil Eye and you can hit his shots.
Very aggressive lineup that
I want to go back and take a look at the items real quick.
Makoa, and Bomb King, and Furia, and Fernando, and Cassie, like that.
So, 2 Master Ridings from G2. So this is... They kind of recognize that they want to take more map positioning is going to be so important for this fight. So Pacheco is going Guillotine, because you can tell because he went Morale Boost. Fnatic doesn't have much Cauterize, which is... Excuse me. It's slightly concerning, because it's a Furia, you know? I kind of need Cauterize against that. Both healers going Criminals, which is standard. Bugsy is the one going Wrecker, which is fine. I guess they don't really have anybody else. Then... So the way that I see, the reason that G2 is picking up Master Riding is because Cuscuti wants to sit near boxes and create space for his BK. And then I assume Bodies wants to dismount at window, so...
That's just
this is clever from G2.
Lineup from G2.
I like it. At the same time, they don't have as much Cauterize against Khan, Genos, Pip,
so... correctly as well, they can basically
see where everybody goes.
Something phenomenal. But on
Fnatic,
Bodies, he's back on the Pip. That worked out really well.
Okay, so... They switched it up from what I thought they would do. So G2 is sending Makoa to boxes. If you didn't know, this is this place right here. That's what I call boxes. And they're setting Nando to hut. So, and then Cassie's sitting on window, and then Dozub is kind of by himself out here. So this is interesting. It's not what I expected. I would have expected the BK to be out here, since Cassie works a lot better from windows, I think, because you can just poke a lot more. And then you can... Because the way that I was going to play this out, if I was G2, I would send Nando and BK out here. I would have the Nando protect the BK and give them space to either free fire on point, or they could both come up through here and flank Bittner. And then you'd have Koa on point here trying to like get a hook on Jera or something. Alright. Because Makoa can hold down point better than Nando, I think. And then Fnatic is grouping up a lot, which I feel is a big disadvantage for them, because if G2 is free firing like this, that's not exactly good. So let's see if Fnatic takes more map control.
When he hasn't been banned, has been picked
So
up, and it makes a lot of sense
trying
to go first. Right in the ski
be that pressure in the backline, but they're not low enough yet. G2 has a lot of map control.
A little bit of poke, nothing too crazy.
Bugsy peeling for his backline.
I'm a big fan of Dosup's going to the
Nara's really low. She's not going to be able to get bursted up.
This time it's going to be much harder to kill him. That's going to be first blood
field. Cutie dives for it, which is solid, and he gets out, albeit at low health.
The one with the credit on it. He's staying pretty close to
that's a pick, so
G2
should be able to just hold on to it now. Very aggressive from Evil Eye. He might get punched.
Into the window for a time,
instead Pacheco's the one that gets punched. Okay, so that was the misplay from Pacheco, especially since his team was down one. Then G2's made it into the backlines because
nice
Makoa,
little bunny
I
hopping
guess.
again. All you need is that little bit of pressure. You kill off Theo, you
Fnatic,
keep the rest of them corralled away. Fnatic weren't even able to touch and get a percentage on that point. Now coming into the 2-minute mark,
Cassie was free firing
G2
from windows.
running the show.
Nando was able to pick up the, like, finish off the kills.
Maybe tie this set up.
Then Levi was just able to chip damage, I guess, just like Cassie. But Fnatic just didn't do and have enough space to
hold, but
like, I don't even know what Zen was doing there.
Speaking
of Zen, he overextended. Fnatic's down one again, but so is G2, so it's kind of somewhat even right now. Nice pull.
There's one way to close.
He might be able to get out.
And you get Bugsy, you burn his shield down. He's gonna have that back relatively quickly.
Still kind of low. This is what you get when you play Genos. Dosub gets poked out, but Furio's gonna be able to top him back up immediately.
His dome shield right there is
gonna keep everybody else safe. Picked off by Feel, that was over aggressive.
Maybe a little bit too
Got body should die. Feel the Nara snipes. Oh, Sheko taking by the triple. Come on, man. Nice wall. Dosub's just gonna reset as fast as possible.
Right now into this line quite aggressively. Dosub's, he's about to go down. He does indeed, as both frontliners fall for G2.
And that's going to be a nice stagger, just to be able to keep G2 kind of away for a little bit longer. It buys you time as Fnatic.
Because it feels like Bittner put the DPS low.
Difficult. It was outrageous, I think, the other day that we
Bittner
saw
put them low, and then
not something that you typically get,
Phil was able to clean up the kills.
Teams that are going to be as closely matched as these two.
They didn't have a tank up there, which they probably should have.
But this is one of those
nice poke from Cassie.
Fnatic, especially after the last game, are confident in their abilities, and I know
Sheko's being kind of aggressive. He doesn't have to be. He can just kind of like hold that angle and not go for the kills. Fnatic isn't contesting point very much. They're kind of getting corralled into this area. It's a nice stun. Clean. Joseph's coming around. He might go for an ult. Doesn't need to. He's flanking with bodies. That's... There we go. So G2 is managing to get enough angles on Fnatic to the point where Fnatic has to look like everywhere at once.
So
they can't deal with that because they work very well. Just like
whether or not do you
there's one direction for everybody to look at. They don't have too much like peel, I guess.
Same kind of area where it's just like every now and then you get a player that is going to be so
the nature of the picks, I guess.
On this
They're good for a reason.
Don't know how to deal with it.
That's going to be Bugsy and Field kind of playing together. Sort of style. Dosub's had his ult, but it is overtime, so G2's saving ults. Field managed to get Evil gets picked off in the backline by Pacheco. No field for it. Rex. Nara's really low. G2 has a chance, but Bittner. Bittner's been doing really well. He won them that earlier fight where everybody was low on the... I'm not even sure what the call-up for that is, like that little snow horseshoe thing that's halfway through the push.
As long as we have
That was
this,
where Phil
no
got
matter
the double.
how much damage they dump
Bittner
into us,
did
we
no
can
damage
kill
there.
off a Cassie. We can
He
kill off
starts
a
free
Bomb
firing
King,
from.
and that's kind of where you have to keep
I don't
your
really know the
mind
calls for
at.
ice
That's
mines
just
now.
one of those moments where
He starts
if
free firing
G2
from that little
hit
wooden
the gas pedal a
platform,
little harder,
and
maybe they get that
everybody's
conversion,
low
but they
enough
use
to
a
the
lot
point
more ults.
where
At this point, they've used Inflame,
he's
which
able to clean up
admittedly
kills.
is not going to be,
Because although Furia
I
does
think,
put out
the
a lot
best
of
thing to
healing,
not have, but it's not really
it's
the
single
worst thing to
target,
not have
so
3 of those ultimates down
she's
right
not
now
going to be able to
for
like
G2. I think they
sustain
saw the moment. I like that they
everybody
were trying
through
to
an
take
entire point
initiative
fight.
there and
So
then push it through. And for a moment, it looked as if they did have it. Fnatic were able to pick things up.
Fnatic needs to take more positioning this time, but they do have
But it
ults.
does mean
So this
that
might be a
now you're
very
going
different
into the
fight.
second round. No Inflame.
G2 has got ult though, which kind of
Immortal. No
doing the
Scout.
same thing. This time Fnatic spraying out a bit more, which I like. And there goes Makoa.
And here,
Oh, there goes. Yeah, there goes Makoa.
getting the double kill.
Then
Bugsy cleaning on Dosa.
Chicken takes out. Okay, Fnatic used every single one of
Now
their
he's
pick
all
ults.
alone, zoned off by Pacheco.
You know what I mean? They used Con,
and Fnatic are
Zen,
good.
And the key people
and
are
Pip. I'm not even
just
going to go
enough
over that because I don't
behind.
feel like it's worth
It's not
watching.
this huge stagger, but it's just enough
Just because
that you're still
they
gonna
should have
have
won
to
that,
buy
they
a
did.
few seconds
They
this
used
G2
ults.
to make sure everyone's grouped up. Pacheco's actually
Very
in that
aggressive
line,
zone.
this map.
Pacheco
Going to be able
Cassie.
to hit right there and stop Cassie. Drop body's going to be locked around, but they're looking for the fight. Ancient Rage is popping.
Nice
There's a
wall.
wall in his face.
Nice
Yeah,
wall.
Ancient Rage not even near the objective though, so that 99%
That's-
becomes 100. You use
so,
that ultimate,
Fnatic
you don't get a
low
kill,
enough,
you
and then
die instead.
G2
and now Fnatic, they got
overextended
3 kills,
trying to
they're
get to the
moving
point.
upward, and the same aggression that
Now they're
you
gonna
tried
get
to
cleaned
have
up.
at the beginning of your push last time, that did
Maybe.
last for a little bit. Fnatic might
Very
be able
aggressive.
to bring it even farther because you're already backing up.
One of the things we've been talking about for Con is, you know,
Fnatic doesn't have to be playing this aggressive. That's a nice wall again.
Battle shout, the CC immunity, what he can
Because they're
provide
just
for
getting
his
free
team.
capture
But
point.
the
Like they
biggest
could
thing
just be
is at the beginning
sitting,
of the fight, being able to use
just kind of
that
looking
balance.
at
One
G2,
free kill
and
on a
the payload
frontline.
be moving
Makoa
exactly
was
the same
dead
speed.
immediately off of
That's
that
what
one.
Fury
Almost
is
got
good
the
at
shell
right there,
thrown
just
back,
saving
but
people.
was just not in
Bittner
that fight. It
gets
was a 4v5 take
caught
off
out
the bat,
somewhere, and this
that
is
gives
going to be the
Fnatic
retreat
that
from
advantage that
Fnatic.
you need. That's why we see
To
him
be a
ban so
wall
much.
and
Because
run
of
away.
I drop bodies, gets
And
the
Bugsy
double
just
kill,
can't
though.
get out, so he just
Might be able to slow things
resets.
down a bit because Fnatic has made some great progress so far. And you saw even the way using
So
Warder's
Fnatic
Shield
is
and
coming
things
out
like
on their
that
ult.
when Custody
Or
is
sorry,
in
coming up on their ults
pursuit
again.
of
So
your
if they just
backline.
use one,
And
like
then
if they use
Theo,
chicken,
as the Sonarge says, no,
right here,
sorry,
maybe,
I'm going to put
on 2,
myself
3,
between
because
you and the
that would be
target.
good.
Nice
If
long
once
range
they get
bombs
into
looking to
position
try and
for it.
hold. This has gotten, I want to say, slightly more difficult to hold back overall since they've opened up this
Very
area of the
aggressive.
map.
Lots
Right
of
now,
ults
actually,
coming
with an
out.
evil mojo,
There's
that's
the
going to make it a
chicken.
lot
It's gonna
easier to
clean
push
up
through as they get a couple kills
2.
with Evil Eye
No, it's gonna clean up
responding in
1.
force.
Not even
But Evil Eye
using the
takes out
for it
2.
either, just gets the double
That
kill
shield
right
just
off the
saved
bat. Fnatic,
Pacheco.
Pacheco
Not Pacheco.
falling pretty low
That body's,
and
yeah,
out
that is
of
body's
it.
on
So
Cassie.
G2, nice
So Fnatic
succession of
whiffed on that
kills,
ult.
and that's
They
what's
got
gonna put
one,
this payload on the regression.
but
Currently, they have Inflamed, they have
G2
Lifting
just
Bomb
had
and
damage from
Immortal.
BK
On the
and
opposite
Cassie.
side, though,
And
everything pretty much
they have
except
a
for that
very
Evil
high
Mojo.
DPS
I
comp
mean,
when you look
everything
at it.
that's going to be coming back up is going to be important.
So I guess
for
that,
Fnatic.
that sort of rush
Whether
isn't
or
going to
not
work
you
that
feel
well unless you get a
confident in your overtime
huge
push, being
chicken.
able to burn those ults, but just going into the next round, Bugsy, I expect, is going to keep his
I
ult
thought
no matter
that
what.
Bittner
Just being
could
able to
get
have
it.
that again, kill one
A
for
big
free
ult.
guard
Not
at
to
the
be honest,
very
it seemed like
beginning
they
of
were
the
really
fight.
gooped up.
Start this up. It's
So
such a
Fnatic
long
probably doesn't
path
want to
back
use
to
any
the
big
point
ults
that
anymore.
that kill means
Maybe
so
in R,
much.
because they didn't use
It's about
that
to be the
last
Ancient
point
Rage
fight and they won pretty
again
handily.
as well. You're in those 30 seconds where
Both tanks from G2 are really low and they're out of line of sight of their healer.
as opposed to using
Bittner
it
goes
just
down,
for
but they should be able to clean up both
defense.
tanks.
Vex, Dosups gets the 1-for-1
Oh,
trade
no,
right now
Furia
before
was
he
back in
falls.
because
I drop bodies.
Bugsy wasn't
He's
able
been
to
so
frontline well
consistent
enough.
with the way that he's
No fault of
getting
his,
these
it's just
Theo kind of isolated, going to be able to walk
Just
himself
go
off.
going.
But here comes the aggression. Evil Eye over the wall.
Oh.
Cuss
Okay,
around
so
the wall, and they're still going to be able to find the kill.
that's not really
Looking
going to
to
matter
zone out
because Ice
Fnatic,
Mine is like where the
take this
payload
up
is.
2-2, and this is a lot more of what you would expect
That's
whenever you are watching Ice Mines.
So
this
that was good from
defense,
Fnatic. I'm expecting a very
notoriously
similar
difficult
point fight
to be able
just
to
because
actually break down
they
and
have
get a
ults.
push.
And when they're
And
working
it
as
should
a
go
unit,
exactly
you
the
saw
same
right
way.
there with
I don't know how
Theo, who was
G2 is going to
able
prevent this. They're going to have to
just
either
fine block off against
use
one
Fernando
versus
and
scenario.
Coral
In that
to
case, got collapsed
avoid the
and
CC, which they
eliminated.
can do.
And then I drop bodies on this Cassie. Just has a hand
but it's
going
to come down to like whether they can actually get them off in time.
We talk about that combination of Makoa and Bomb King,
very hard to do. So
together,
it's still advantage Fnatic, I'd say.
Makoa and Cassie that have been walking in tandem for a lot of these fights.
Then, I like it if you put it off, you can kind of pair them off. Put Furia in the point where she can see everybody.
90% on Chicken.
Then you get Bomb King Fernando and Cassie and Makoa. Let them have their pairs, do whatever they need to do. Unfortunately, they're in this position where I just don't see whether or not it's Cuss or Dose-Ups who's going to be the one eliminated. Bugsy immediately goes to the side. He knows what he's looking for. And putting drop bodies on the aggression, that's what they needed to do.
That was
crash through time and space.
Okay, so G2 just used 4 ults there. Time and space saves bodies. And this is how G2 is going to adapt, by just holding W. So where's the rest of Fnatic? Because Bugsy's the only one on the screen right now.
Who's going?
So they're coming up. Bittner's going with Bugsy. So it seems like Fnatic's doing the exact same thing, which, I mean, to be fair, I would have done. But it also lets G2 adapt to that a bit better. And taking positioning like this, especially with Master Riding, you notice that 4 of them have Master Riding too. Wow. It just lets you take away the angle from Bugsy. Even if Bugsy does grab somebody, he's going to get blown up.
Going to be the one eliminated. Bugsy immediately goes to the side. He knows what he's looking
for. Who's that coming around on the right side of the screen? Oh my gosh. That's Fnatic. So Fnatic's trying to come around and pincer them. Feels kind of out in the middle of nowhere because he was going to go to point, but all of a sudden there's nobody there. So now it's kind of like, do I just sit on point? But then my team might lose the fight. So Feel's in a really bad position right here. And there's no good answer for what Feel has to do because he's dismounted. If he wasn't dismounted, he'd be able to flank with Fnatic. But because he's dismounted, he kind of just has to waddle his own ass over. So the best thing for him is maybe just to hold where he is so that Jared doesn't get flanked. But G2 is going ham because they've used Cassie, Furia. They're going to use Nando to save themselves from Jared's ult. And then Evi is going to go in. So let's see how many kills they get.
And putting drop bodies on the aggression, that's what they needed to do.
Kills. Like,
Seismic crash through time and space, gets the inflamed. The inflamed on top of the heat bomb. Blasts it onto Bittner, finds the double kill.
So there we go. That's sort of aggressive.
And that's 4 down.
They use everything except for Koa.
The
fact that they didn't use Koa is actually pretty big. And now Feel's just going to get staggered.
While they gain some capture.
And just being able to showcase how do you deal with the ults coming out from Fnatic, you just kill them. So that Fnatic can't do anything with those ults. All of them get popped except for the Evil Mojo.
Evil Mojo? Is that going to kill?
Time until they get back up.
It didn't. Okay, so I didn't see who the Evil Mojo, but
on this point, especially with Bittner falling right there, it's going to be a lot.
I assume it would be like one of the tanks just because resilience, or the inbuilt resilience. Checo, I assume ults Custody? No, he didn't. He just. Oh wait, no, we watched that. Oh my gosh. It just 1-1, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. Because G2's zone bottom.
That G2 was able to make it past the first time around.
And Fnatic couldn't make it back, so now they're getting staggered. So this is
ability to take
Fnatic's fine, but Feel's gonna get
turn it into a 4v5 that makes it so much easier for them. Even there, being able to use all their ults, you could just
bodies goes down to Bittner though.
They were able to kind of absorb it and turn it right back on its head. So Fnatic are going to have to look at how they position for the beginning of the next round. Assuming there is a next round, G2 getting wiped right now, but 1 minute and 50 seconds left on the clock to potentially push this in.
Some of these fights are so clustered, you'll notice the mining.
I was ready if Furia got back in time, might have been able to actually save him from that.
Everybody.
Checo going very aggressive.
You don't even care about range. You just
and then that's guillotine, and then the cooldowns reset, and slow it up, gets him out. So that's fine, he's going to be able to build it back up. Nice shot from Bittner.
Position themselves in this just because
is,
they push up really far. This map is big enough.
I mean, maybe not stuff down, but like,
right here, they're going to be able to respawn.
I don't want to say underestimated either, but like, it's very strong.
Going into it and being able to just
keep in a zone from Fnatic, and the reason for this is that, let's say they lose this fight, which they might, they're kind of low health.
About a minute to go.
It's losing a fight back here still wastes so much time. Or up here rather, just because even after G2 wins, if they win, they still have to walk over to the actual pillar. Bittner and Bugsy find really well together. G2 just gets collapsed on. But Evil Eye is bringing this fight back. Bugsy takes him out. Cuss is gonna get staggered. Cuss likes to play very aggressive. He does get Furia, or sorry, Jera on their channels. So Fnatic should be backing up now. All this map.
Opposite that you would see where Bugsy is standing. And still moving
Bugsy should be able to
30
get
seconds left. This is a long push when you have the full 2.5 minutes. It's going to be incredible if G2 are able to do anything with this overtime.
So then Feel and Fish Echo are still behind.
Another one of those very clustered fights in this archway. A hook.
Okay, so here, let's go back. I want to show you something neat. Okay, so you see how Evil Eye went chain reaction, right? So he's just sticking bombs on Feel. Like you gotta see that.
Another one of those very clustered fights.
2. Okay, he's got like 2 or 3 there. Let's go back a bit. Right, so something that Fish Echo could have done here is shoot the bombs off, and then Evil Eye goes to blow up Feel and goes, oh hey, where'd my bomb goes? Where'd my bomb go? Wow. Where did my bombs go? So, like, especially as support sometimes, because my, you know, my LMBs, my shots, they're not really doing too much, so if I can save my tank from getting blown up by a BK, it's very useful. And even if it's not a tank, if it's just somebody that's one going their bomb gang, if they're playing that sort of chain reaction style where they like to go for sticks and then blow them up instead of like blowing them up midair, it's very effective at peeling for somebody, especially if you're healing them too. So that's something that Fish Echo could have done here, but feeling Fish Echo, they're just gonna get caught out. Cassie's one does get cleaned up by Jera. Bittner's gonna do Bittner things. Cuss is gonna go down. Ooh, maybe not. Nice peel from Furia. Vex is doing really well. So right now it's an overtime, but
good fight. Cuss,
neither team is gonna use ults because the payload is, even if G2 wins this fight, there's still gonna be another fight and another choke point. So it's not worth it to use ults because they're gonna have to use like almost everything if they want to have a chance at pushing it. And likewise, Fnatic they're not gonna use ults because G2 has to use ults to push it, but Fnatic can lose this fight, not use ults, lose the next fight, not use ults, and still be in free with 5 ults. So this is looking good for Fnatic, because this is just how Ice Mine works. But I don't think you're going to see any ults from either teams unless it's something like... There's not really any like worthless ults on these comps though. The most used this is like maybe Cassie, Furia, maybe. Yeah, Furia's pretty strong. So is Cassie though, so probably not going to see anything get popped.
The forefront of the fight, everyone else on G2 going to be following up behind those, and depending on how they get this, so they can set up a couple of good kills, will get this even further. Then you get past that second arch, you can get into the base of Fnatic. You put the scare into them, you have all 5 ults,
really low.
you have potential to still close this out.
Oh wow, what happened there?
Then you get past that second arch, if you can get...
Where is
Evil of the fight, everyone else on G2 going to be following up behind those, and depending on how they get this, so they can set up a couple of good kills, will get this even further. Then you get past that second arch, if you can...
Yeah, I think he was coming up top,
into the base of Fnatic, you put...
Bittner overextends without Bugsy. Then...
The scare into them, you have all 5 ults, you have potential to still close this out.
But it's a super
gets blown up by Evil Eye too.
Fish
Echo tries to dive, bodies peels, and the front line just gets collapsed on.
You've got the team
Excuse me,
you've got the movement.
Fnatic was
are you going to use everything you've got to try and close it out now?
Here's the last fight. I'm not going to see either any ults out there.
Depends on how some of these fights
go. Gets flipped off. Fnatic's getting, G2's getting kind of close. Okay, so Fnatic is pressured to use one ult. They get a pick on Doseps. Vex goes down. That's going to be the end of the fight. Just like these extended point fights like this, especially if the spawn so close, you need your healer. You just need your healer. So, how did that pick actually happen? Was Fish Echo behind?
It's moving forward.
Fish Echo is... Who's Fish Echo?
No one's touching down just yet. Now Fnatic forced to jump down. Overtime is going to fall down. You cannot...
whatever.
Unlikely this payload.
But Doseps is falling
gets picked off. Yeah, you can see Fish Echo in the background there. So, I don't know how he got around though. He must have gone past Bugsy up here. So...
Long way back if you do try to get into this fight once more, still lose on that.
So we'll have to see what Fnatic's adaptation to G2 just holding W with ults. We'll have to see how they fix that. Oh wait, hold up. Oh, it is free. What? Okay, so I messed up there. So that's just Fnatic not wanting to lose again.
With everything except for Evil Mojo is up.
Which is kind of safe.
Who's going to be the first to initiate with their ultimate?
So
there's Scout expected. There's
G2 versus the other way this time.
But having to
Jared's low, but Sheko's hanging out.
Straight down the middle. No kills just yet. Everyone's still managing to survive. Every ultimate from G2.
So yeah, G2 did use every ult. Okay, holy cow. So where are they? They're there's free right here.
Having to rotate and the king bomb straight down the middle. No kills just yet. Everyone's still managing to survive. Every ultimate from G2 Esports used despite not getting any kills yet. Seismic crash downtown, bodies fall, but Koskudi throws it back off to Bittner as he's in pursuit of the backline of Fnatic.
And you can see where they're forcing this fight. They are in Fnatic's territory as of right now, but they own Master Right, and even dying here is not the worst case scenario for G2. No one's touched the point yet.
Nobody.
Yeah, there is 0% on this objective because they have just been fighting.
Joseph doesn't have an ult here, he's gonna get picked off.
Every single ultimate used. Fisheko's on the 100% because it's come back
and
already.
Fnatic still has Zen ult. Body might get Bodies does get caught out. Evil might be next. Nice peel. Okay, so G2. Their comp works so much better when they're on the aggressive like that. But Fnatic, how did Fnatic even survive that? They put them low enough. They didn't have that great of a view on the fight, on the initial like dive. So you can see Dosups is really low. Jera has, I assume he's down on the left back here where they can't reach him, which is good positioning. I don't know if he ults Fernando coming out of his Immortal, but... And then Bugsy just stays alive because he's Khan and he has self-sustain and probably a Genosmerk. Sheko is below. Bittner's flanking around, so G2 is kind of split here. So yeah, that's Evil Eyes coming up here. Vex is way back here. Bodies is pincering field, but there's now there's two members that are kind of out of no man's land.
Having to rotate and the king bomb straight
down
the middle.
I don't know where Evil Eye is going with this.
Just yet. Everyone's still managing to survive. Every ultimate from G2 Esports used.
We have no idea what's going on right now.
Getting any kills yet. Seismic crash downtown, bodies falls.
Okay, so ooh, Vex going ham right now. Sheko takes out bodies. I guess that's just good play. Can't really see. Koskudi because we have no idea what's going on right now. Vex, I thought Vex was diving and he got ulted. I don't know if that's worth it though.
As he's in pursuit of the backline of Fnatic.
So low, and ulting somebody not off the map with Khan is kind of iffy.
Territory as of right now, but they all went Master Right.
Sheko does take out Vex though, so I guess that ult was worth it. Because if Vex is up right now, Cuz probably would stay alive.
There is 0% on this objective
I don't know
because
they
have
just been
fighting
off,
for their lives elsewhere.
He has to point out for the reset.
Every single
at this point.
ultimate use, Fisheko's
Fnatic can
on
move
that
by the
100%
point.
because it's
Bodies
back
goes way too far. Does his best to stay alive, but that's because he overextended. Evil Eye. This is because Fnatic one's kept on the point right now. They should still be able to contest. Ooh, that's why I pick up guillotines in. So.
And not having the King Bomb, one of the things that gave Evil Eye a distinct advantage. So far, 77% looking
G2 doesn't have ults, but Field is now. Field is... What happened to Field? Hold up. Did he get stunned?
And not having the King Bomb, one of the things that gave Evil Eye a distinct advantage. So far, 77% looking to charge.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh, that was a beautiful stun. If he didn't get stunned there, he probably wouldn't have been able to waddle, back to point, maybe survive. And so right now, though, because somebody's still respawning, Fnatic is down to 3 members. It's a 4v3 right now, but Fnatic has point control, but Bittner is kind of by himself.
Charge it up. They're getting a couple kills.
So he's gonna get stunned by
behind them, looking for a couple kills, or at least a distraction.
Jera
dances alone on the point.
Is fighting off Dosups.
He has his eyes on Jera, one shot away from death. Has the inflamed
he's just getting as much cap point as he possibly can. Fnatic is chicken. This is a crazy ice mine.
About 45 seconds ago, where
so somebody went around right there. He's gonna get caught out by the 2-man squad. What is Koskudi doing? Oh my gosh. So Evil gets caught out by runs in by who's that? Feel and Sheka, right? I don't know.
And it should move through, and it's the same scenario that we saw about 45 seconds
they
ago.
got up in his face, and then it was that. Yeah, Feel and Sheka. So they take him out. They start going to point because Cutie is they're just gonna leave him alone.
You are in Fnatic's base. You are taking a lot
of space. That's good as a kill. So because Cutie's out of the fight right now, Jerry's gonna be able to get out. Khan's, sure got dismounted, but now G2 is so split. Their tanks are in Fnatic's backline, and Anora's from Fnatic is sitting on point. Sheko's might get out if Jera's not gonna be able to get a heal on him. Sheko's because he's dead here. Bodies is gonna have to burn down the Anara.
You're not going to be there if Fnatic slips by, and you can see that's been the case. Sheko does go down. Theo is going to be the next one to fall as the damage is just getting poured into him.
So strange.
To 81 through time. It's clears off the point for a second, but G2's still hanging around.
Find enough to dodge in the meantime. 99% right now. Fnatic, you got to do something about this body.
Oh, they did use chicken. Hold on. Who is chicken on?
Space clears off the point for a second, but G2's still hanging around.
Find enough to dodge in the meantime. 99% right now.
So he tried to peel for Jera. Didn't work. He took us a kill on Cutie. Starts winning the duel against Bodies, but Furia happens, so Furia wins that. And then, oh my gosh, that was
insane.
And
that is enough for G2 Esports to take the game and keep themselves in this set.
The tension between those two booths was palpable. Like, you could feel it in the air. There was like lightning about to surge with that.
Adapted really well on the fly there.
But it took a little bit to get there at the end where they were like, okay, no one's here from Fnatic to actually worry about. There were so many things, especially at that.
Okay, we'll pause it there. G2 kind of got dumped on the second fight there because ults, but they adapted really well, and that's just knowing that you can actually, you can take a comp like that where you're, theoretically at a disadvantage, but I don't know, man. G2 did well by drafting not solo tank, because if they had solo tank, they would have gotten absolutely destroyed by the free insta pickups, but I don't know, all these fights seem just so scrappy. Like, none of them are like, because Cutie's at Fnatic spawn feels sitting on point with 3 members of G2, and oh my, like, what even was that? That was insane. So I don't even know what to say about that, but that was a lot messier than your typical Ice Mines game. So let's move on to the third game, I guess. So we're back on Frogile, and Fnatic's got the first pick. So it's funny because the team with first pick has lost both games so far.
That's, I think, more mechanical skill. It's going to give a lot more of their players like Bender and Sheko a chance, despite maybe being outplayed from things like a Master Riding or
Khan is always
stuff.
solid.
Pip too,
the usual, I guess.
Tenor. Yeah,
he's top damage.
It's pretty much the same sort of
game. It's really good. I mean, and it's not that Pip has been changed.
It's like the same sort of style map as Ice Mines.
That's basically all that's changed about it.
I mean, people were doing well before Moxie became a thing. I mean, it is great.
You can protect your snipers really well, so Fnatic just doesn't want to deal with that.
For some of his nerfs.
Sniper first picks aren't as good as they used to be because there's so many other things that are first pick worthy, and by not first picking one of them, like something like a Furia or Koa or Khan or whatever, you give the other team a lot more options. And there's like Cassie and Leon who can deal with snipers well.
Their homework.
They know the
Ash ban
is get rid of a pick that hasn't been.
So usually you ban something that's not like top tier because you want to get those top tier things. You want to leave them open.
Still on the board.
But
G2 have to mull over whether or not they want to give that up.
I guess Fnatic has played it before on this map. Scared of
right there.
Feels
Your man on
or
the
something.
screen knows he's been banned out by G2.
Ban from Fnatic is pretty standard, even though they have first pick.
Unfortunately,
I guess
they gave him his favorite character, Makoa. And that still seems
first
likely,
game that Willow and Zodas haven't been banned out.
Willing to trade out a potential loss of Furia here by banning the Makoa.
So G2 is kind of like picking what they don't want Fnatic to have.
That guy that's like gonna like.
And it's Kanessa.
Okay. I want to get it.
So the only snipers left are
I think he's basically close to like the ideal player. You know what I mean? He loves playing a front line. He just wants to get better at it. He does all kinds of spreadsheets and stats and just gives it up to you objectively. and say, this is what I got for you.
Okay,
Furia.
Right?
So try to sway one way or another.
Like pretty clutch.
Not too biased.
The
And
reason
again,
that
willing to do his
because
part
Furia
as a
does really
team
well
player,
with
and
those
that's kind of
practice
always been his
fights,
mentality. It's a very likable
alive.
guy. Joseph's the captain for G2 Esports now. It's a decision. They've lost the Furia, which was the key to
also
their
doesn't
first
reveal their hand because
coming just
Furia,
moments ago on Ice Mines.
solo tank, you can
So
double
they have
tank,
to have a new strategy here. No snipers in play.
So G2
Koa
probably
certainly is. I don't think they can afford to give that up.
Koa's open, but
I think the combo might be, do we take the Barrack and the Makoa? Do we just gimp them on the front line side? And they're going to opt for the Willow here.
Leon,
I was going to say, you got to...
So by doing this, they are...
with that. If Fnatic don't take the Fury
taking the blaster they want,
makes it way
and
too
also
easy
taking
for G2 to pick up with 2 picks in their second phase.
Making it worse for Fnatic to take the other blaster,
Willow, you really need a Leon
because Leon,
because we've seen damage be done by Leons to Willows.
But is Willow just on Frog Isle? She's going to be up in the air for her ult, but you could use that when there's pressure on other
doesn't reveal their hand as much.
I like, obviously, that Leon is on DPS in pretty much every opposition. So much, and the
they don't have that much finishing power. Fnatic does want to draft a hit scan sort of answer to Willow.
Really roll the dice.
Well, the counter argument there is that they picked
up so much
in
like,
anti-heal. That doesn't
matter.
Something
else usually.
That doesn't matter.
Ideally a sniper, but
that doesn't matter. They've left both open as well because there's so much
anti-heal
for G2.
Drogas. So you take the Drogas regardless of the Leon, which is fine because Drogas is just that good. And also, kind of enables you Makoa.
And Fsheko obviously deadly on the Willow or the
again, the alt games.
And interesting to know that G2
knowing
Drogas was available, opted
Fernando
to give that away. But you look at Makoa, you look at Fury, you look at Drogas, Fnatic really solid.
Because Kitty's been on Nando every game.
G2 Esports have the Fernando.
I really like Fnatic's draft so far, though.
Because I'm getting flashbacks to when Fnatic played Na'Vi on Frog Isle. They need something. Oh, they have Immortal. That's going to work. That's going to serve the same purpose.
Take both tanks here because they don't need to take a healer.
They need something to hard fall back on because Fnatic will gas.
But then also, like, if you take Nando and or maybe Inara and
Moldamba, now you would expect
then you can kind of pick your last tank according to what they want. But again, like, I guess if you really want Fernando and Inara. Like, maybe you just don't want them to get Fernando. I'm sorry. Maybe you don't want Fnatic to get Makoa and not Furia because that's just so strong. Then they do have ways to deal with it, like Leon and Willow.
Pick of this draft.
What else is interesting is that G2's first 2 picks counter Buck really well, so they still seem to consider Buck like S plus tier or something. Barrack is open. Barrack, oh my gosh. I completely forgot about Cassie, to be completely honest with you.
Barrack as well.
So maybe playing from range, not betting it on
diving, Willow out of the air,
betting it on out,
which I mean, it's gonna
shooting
happen,
them from safety, having a
this
little
is,
bit more.
Again, that's such a good draft from Fnatic.
In their kit as well to deal with the Inara.
Drafting for Fnatic.
Here's where you have the question, G2. Do you go to something interesting like your Mega Potion Pip with your 2 front lines?
So G2 is gonna take Damba here.
You have a lot of damage coming at you, and
they could take Dennis, but like
be a little bit.
With 2 tanks is a beefy
as Nando and Inara, but it's definitely not going to get you out of those dangerous situations.
As possible. So
Damba,
I assume that's what's coming out here.
Genos.
Wow.
Ceres? I was going to Ceres over Damba.
Man, this is the risk. Best
Ceres
of 3,
over Damba.
1 game apiece. Rock solid draft either side. G2 go to the Ceres.
I think they go for this because
Ceres.
of how well.
Okay, let's pause it. Let's go over these drafts. So. Let's do the bans first. So Fnatic bans out the Sniper and Khan because they want to play out Sniper mind game with G2. If you get a Sniper and the other team doesn't, that's a huge advantage. So they kind of force G2 into banning that. The Ashe ban is because they want, or G2 wants more of like the S tier stuff. Because like you leave it open, and then Kinessa is just an answer to the Strix. But looking at these drafts, like, Fnatic's entire draft has been banned out in some of these games. G2's draft has, like, they've got Willow that's been banned out for, like, Fnatic's draft just seems to be stronger in characters in champions. Like, champion-wise, they have, like, they're just ranked higher on tier list, so. How are they going to play this? Fnatic is going to probably send Barrack to point, Cassie to window, and then Drogas. Or they could send Drogas to like to mid, and he could kind of free fire on the tanks out of the line of sight of the Leon, unless the Leon goes danger. So as for how As for the way that the rest of this is going to work, Willow's probably going to want to go mid, or maybe window. I don't know. G2 does have a lot of versatility. You're probably going to send an R to point. Nando can push danger with probably Leon, actually. But Cassie and Makoa, I would bet on, like, if Cassie and Makoa were fighting on danger against Nando and Leon, I don't know. I'd probably give that fight to the Makoa and Cassie just because they're being pocketed by Furia. The point fight, I like Fnatic's a bit better just because Barrett can get out a lot easier and he can get out of caught better. And, you know, he's got Furia backing him. But then again, Willow, so. Overall, I think that Fnatic, they kind of have better ults, but this is going to be a close one. Most of these drafts are pretty solid. I still don't understand the Saris instead of Maldamba. Like, what's it going to do? It's going to... The only reason that I can think of is that she can get out of Droga's Savile Spit a lot easier. But is that really a reason for taking less heals? So, we'll have to see how it plays out. So let's hop in the game. Alright, so, taking a look at what they've got. Combustible Drogas instead of Fusillade, which is fine since Fusillade got nerfed to 25% instead of 35%, but it's interesting. Everything else on Fnatic's pretty standard. It's kind of
take away the Kinessa because you had a feeling that's exactly.
Okay, so this is all standard from G2. Mortal Reach versus Void Abides is personal preference. Personally, I prefer Void Abides just because I feel like it does more healing, but on this map, if Vex goes mid, like up the main path the payload goes, he can heal people away from danger. Sorry, like he can heal people that are fighting on danger, whereas he couldn't if he was playing Void Abide, so that works out. Nimble is actually really good on Xerath because you can reposition and heal people faster. Also, because you know how there are cards that like increase your speed and shadow travel? You can buy Nimble and pretty much have those cards for free. And spend your loadout cards on like more self-sustain or something. But overall, I think that, I don't know, legendary choices are pretty standard. G2 does have two, like, really good cauterizes right off the bat with Willow and Leon, Dev and Taxes Leon specifically, so that's going to be something to be aware of. The shields are going to be melting a lot faster, and even, Jera's like 500 HP shields or 400 HP or whatever he's running. So.
But you leave the Makoa
pretty
open.
standard loadout from Vex.
I want to see this Willow and how that does because some people have been able to do really great with this pick. Everyone else has looked kind of meh.
Okay, let's see where people go.
You can see Vex.
Okay, so it's gonna be Willow and Cascudi. Willow and Nando going to danger, which is fine. Or AoE, I guess. Versus the Droga's Makoa. I think Drogas can knock people off the map, first of all, which is really good. Furia's going mid, Cassie's going to window, and Barrick's going to point. And then Leon must be going to mid with Dozups on Leon. So this is pretty solid. Leon's going to be free firing on the Drogas and Makoa, which is not going to work out pretty well, but Fnatic should be taking over points first.
I named my Saris loadout pretty much very similar to this. Just stay alive. Like, this is your goal. You're going to heal, and you're going to stay alive. That is your goal. That is your job. Cuss is so low, the healing. That's going to be the downside of Saris.
And then now a little bit of Fnatic push up onto
that doing the damage there? Or, oh my gosh, holy crap. Look at Cassie's ult. That's probably, who is that? That's bodies on Cassie. 46%, and it's been like 30 seconds. Maybe. Not even. Like 10. That's actually insane. So he must have been the one who posted Gus down. G2's all kind of low. This is part of the reason why I like Void Abides, because you can burst everyone up more instead of like just one person. He's gonna go for a hook. Big hook, but hooks him to himself.
Gets a bit of protection,
that's it.
But moves back and dies.
This Fnatic's now zoning because they've got point control.
Here from G2. They've done a lot of risky
stuff.
Low, I would say just in terms of what Fnatic has picked up, several picks that they are known for making work.
Barrick's holding mid, and Feel and Jogos are holding danger, which
on
is
this map
pretty
is
solid.
just all around versus G2, which has
And
some
they
good
managed to
counters
push
on it,
G2
but they
back.
have to have a much higher execution
They gotta
threshold
kill on
because it's going to be a
somehow.
little bit more
Didn't see that.
unfamiliar. And as of right now, Fnatic, they're sitting in the
Dominant.
driver's seat comfortably.
Checo.
0-100
Very
this
well.
time for Fnatic, and they are getting kill after kill after kill. Because
This is
even
low,
with
but
some
he
of the
should be able
things
to
you
get out.
stripped away from them, look at these picks. You have the Barracks been working out really well despite whoever it's
Feel
on.
looking for-
Feel obviously loves his
Look off
Makoa,
the map.
and then Drogos, Cassie.
I kind of
Such a
like when you see
solid,
somebody
sturdy,
positioning like that, it just kind of
aggressive,
forces
but
you
I can
to
just plant myself
be
here and do my
very
work
careful.
kind of draft.
Being able to come around, this is
Still-
probably, well, not
still
probably,
just
this
zoning.
is the
It's
last
kinda-
pin. This is usually where it starts to get a
They're
little
just
bit
poking at each other, but
tougher
Shaco goes
overall
down.
to
That's
be able
probably
to make sure you can actually
the
push
Andre
in
most of
and
that
everything. It's
damage.
a little bit
Evil Eye goes
more
down
difficult.
too, but it says
With
to
the way things are
trade.
going, you can kind of see why, although Bidner getting
But
2 kills
Fnatic
right
is
there is going to
lower
make it a
and
lot
they have
easier for
response.
Fnatic to regroup and repress into this payload.
Shut down for the meantime by Cuskudi.
I don't know if
With a minute 35 seconds
Tanks
to
might
go.
get staggered.
Payload
No, they don't
hasn't
have
quite
enough
made it
to
around
actually
that
finish them
last
off.
bend, thanks to the fact that your angles become a bit more exposed.
Oh, you know
around
what?
these
Well,
rocks.
I just realized something. Look at the health ticking for Gus. Fnatic might actually have I don't know what the card is called, but Jogos is a card when you hit somebody with Fire Spit, it makes them take 75% reduced healing for a few seconds. I don't know if that is. This is actually something I don't know. But you know, like combustible has a tick rate, right? Like, does it, the cauterize or the inbuilt cauterize rather reapply after every tick? Because if it does, like that's cauterize lasts for 1.5 seconds. So if you're being ticked for how long does your slot tick last for? Another 1.5 seconds, maybe. So that's 3 seconds out of cauterize. Or sorry, 3 seconds that you're getting cauterized on every fire spit, which is decent. So that's just a neat loadout thing, I guess, because a while ago you saw nobody running that the anti-heal card, but it seems like it's picked up a lot in
a straight line to that final destination.
Popularity. That's what I'm looking for.
G2
So it's a willow out, so Fnatic's just gonna hold back and wait for this to run out, most likely. That was a weird out from Evil Eye.
But he's already tanky as it is.
Fnatic's winning this. Fnatic's
You're
losing
looking at
the
some
board,
zoning
sorry.
and some dismounts, some good shots from the air, but again, you're just up in the air and really kind of hoping for the best. It doesn't stall Fnatic too much, maybe buys you a little bit of time, but you are incredibly low and actually getting chased down. Here comes the Dragon Punch looking for a tank.
Waiting for a heal.
Over the rock and through
Went in.
the woods, but goes back to his starting place.
That was an interesting ult from that would have been Vex. So I guess the reasoning behind that is if Shaco hits somebody with the ult, he gets immediately pulled in and blown up, I guess. Which is neat use of it, but I guess he just didn't see what he liked. G2 uses 2 ults there. Use Inara stun somewhere. Okay, let's actually go back and look at this. So
but you are incredibly low
That's
and actually getting chased down. Here comes the Dragon Punch looking for a tank.
Over the rock
and
through
through
the woods, but goes back
Sarah's
to
ult
his
wasn't-
starting place.
neither of these ults
Sees
did
that
anything.
that convergence was
G2 is
thrown
really
out,
low.
did
Sarah's
not want to get
isn't
pulled
gonna be able
into
to
it. So 45
keep them all
seconds
back
to go.
up.
Kills in the
Because they're just looking at that tick rate on the nano shield. That's like 2 seconds, so it's like 3.5 seconds out of cauterize. It's like cauterize rather, so that's really solid.
recent time, but still just far
Barrack is
damage
really
to
low,
that
probably gonna be able to
backline
get
of
topped
G2
up.
supports that are waiting for the opportunity to pop out and
Beyond
like
ult
Mix
keeps
slings light
bodies
fast.
alive.
Being able to get a nice salvo but not finding
Yeah,
any kills. Not so
combustible.
many
Feels
kills coming
overextended,
from
but
Fnatic or
Furious
G2
should be able to save
as of
him.
right now, but being able to get rid of
Here we
Bidner
go.
feels incredibly low, so that's going to start the roll. That should find them
I
at
guess
least a good amount of
Furious healing
space
other
they can
people.
take back and try to relocate and push
G2
Fnatic out.
just
Pacheco was forced to back
held
off,
W,
and
it
so
seemed
was
like, with
Jared.
Leon and
Jared
Nando.
thinking around the wall because he had too much damage taken to him.
Bodies,
And bodies, at that point,
not
you don't
bodies.
even need to get those kills.
Close-ups.
You just need to
Or is it
constantly
just
force
he's
them
playing Dempsey.
backwards towards their base, and that's exactly what he did.
His ghost-ups might be on tank.
Last chance to touch,
Bugs.
try to get the overtime, 2 seconds left, and they are going to be on the payload, so it's going to be going there for Fnatic. The way things are going, I
Next starts
have a lot of
overtime.
weight on the kind of half health
Waiting
bars on G2
for health,
to make
I
sure
guess.
they perform well. But
Big
the payload's
combustible.
moving forward.
Almost knocks
Honestly,
Willow off
this
the map.
Drogos is hitting really hard.
Field starts going in, using Makoa.
Swings away at Willow, eliminated.
This
going
Tuck
in
still
pursuit
forcing
of
out the
Saris, but has some
heals.
mobility to hop around this
It's like
wall,
diving to
takes a
Saris like
couple
this
hits
is
in
so
the
good
face,
because
and goes
Saris
into the
is
shadow travel to escape.
trying to
Joseph
run away.
himself is on
She
his last leg of
heal.
HP. Finally heals up a bit with
Very
Willow.
low.
Love his support to
Nice
stay alive,
hook.
but a hook
Oh,
into
we gotta
Vex
drop back something
as
else
he
there.
goes down and Fnatic
Then
pushes
Fnatic had to
through.
use
Just being
Makoa.
able to play that
So that-
perfectly.
and
I mean, they
that's
know exactly who
a
they
big
want to
ult, but
focus
it's
on and
worth
get
it.
rid of. G2 it almost feels as though, I don't want to say they've been outdrafted, because it just feels as though they aren't hitting the strides that you want on these champions. I didn't see a lot of presence there. Leon games, again, haven't been phenomenal the last few times we've seen it.
Combustible Drogas low enough, and then Koa cleaned up and took away the healing.
I just didn't
well, not really took away the healing, but
Cuss
like
died really early on in that last point, and it kind of felt like it was just
forced
a
the
perpetual
Saris away.
stagger. Every now and then you got some pushbacks,
Nimble is good because you can see that Vax was actually able to like run away from that.
5 all across the board. 4 of them are on Cuss.
So that was pretty solid. Now that alts are coming online, G2 doesn't have any coming up like they'll have Saris though, but Fnatic has everything except Mercola, so they should be able to.
So it was a little early enough where Fnatic could regroup.
Just go. So G2's just decided to go to point.
Shows a scout, so that means
this is fine. Drogas is gonna love that though. Saris is the one. Oh, that was very close.
Onto Doseps, who takes too much damage following
that
pyre
wasn't good
strike.
enough.
This feels very good for Fnatic. You can assume that this is part of the reason they chose this map. They are looking solid. They get rid of both front lines. Now they're just going to be chasing down the support, and the damage all going to go down. Evil Eye does get a return kill, but I mean a 1 for 5 essentially.
Doseps right now gets dismounted, runs into the face of the 2 frontliners on the opposite end. Fisheko finishes it off. A dome shield so aggressively towards G2, so they can't even rotate. Fisheko with a double kill. A Faith Light attempt from Evil Eye so that he can reach far into that backline of Fnatic, but too healthy for the time being. Take out that sustain. Furia off the table. Bittner picks it up onto Evil Eye, but it's 99% for Fnatic right now.
Oh, he makes it.
As overtime continues.
There's going to be Convergence pulling in the Dragon, looking for the kills, and they're going to be able to find
does go down. Nando will save this. G2 is bringing this back.
But that's not over yet. Bittner, as long as he's
Bittner's
alive, is a threat.
Oh, and
he gets that tremendous heal back up to full. Doseps takes
that was
out
clutch
but
from Vex,
still,
though.
the 99% for Fnatic is mighty threatening, even with that comeback mechanic for G2 Esports, still making a little bit of leeway. Fnatic are regrouped, they've re-brought themselves into this fight, with Theo there in the middle of the action.
Fnatic have respawns.
Dash back in, Cuss standing in the middle of it all. Dead zone going to be thrown out, but it might be a little too late. Cuss is already gone, that's a 3rd point for Fnatic.
I mean, Combustible Drogas and Cassie, never mind.
On the desk they were talking about having ultimates like Immortal to be able
Wait,
to
hold up. Do you see that Willow?
When on the desk they were talking about having ultimates like Immortal to be able to reset and pull back and hard change the pace of that fight, and it worked in that moment. And Fnatic was taken off guard. They couldn't find a way to break through that barrier, but came back to it. Comeback mechanic still wasn't fast enough for G2 to be able to close that.
And again, you're seeing this aggression come down, specifically Theo on Makoa levels of aggression. He got comfortable early on in this set being able to play that, and I feel like he is hitting the exact same strides. He is in their face, he's causing trouble. You put Fisheko on Drogas, they get so many of aggression. He got comfortable early on in this set being able to play that, and I feel like he is hitting the exact same strides. He's in their face, he's causing trouble. You put Fisheko on Drogas, they get so many.
It's like when you're playing Saris, you're healing somebody, they're under cauterized, so then you have to heal them again. And then they're still not full health because cauterized, and then you have to heal them again, and then meanwhile your entire team's dead. So, especially with Mortal Reach, another reason why I like what about
and Fnatic, I mean, a minute and 50 seconds left
there,
about 60% on the push. They're
I still don't get it.
And remember, this is lower bracket, everyone, so whoever loses this game is out entirely from the summer finals. So on the line from
he's got his ult here.
Top seeds of the region.
Big stun by
Fisheko picks it out onto Cuskcutie.
GT's going out kind of. GT might have one more fight.
There's 3 of them in the entryway of this spawn area.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead and Evo. That's okay. He can't swing at them while they're in their spawn, but he still forced them to stay in there. And because of that, the rest of the team put in that work, and Fnatic take the victory, sending G2 home.
What's the opposite of a bouncer? Like, bouncers keep you out of a club. What's the thing that keeps you in?
They took a fight a bit too early in the middle of that push. They kind of got staggered. Drogo's fire spit. Drogo's combustible fire spit.
Doing a 180.
Kind of let Theo dive the backline. And he did, and he got kills. And then G2, they went out. Their tanks got put really low because of Saris. And again, they're up against a Cassie and combustible Drogos. So Saris is going to have a really tough time healing all that up. Then Fnatic used ults, I mean, mostly Makoa ult, but they spawn camped the doors. That was it. So Fnatic takes the series 2-1, and G2 could have done better by not picking Saris. The Dom was open. I don't know that, because like if they have Dominate, they have more sustain, and then that just gives them so many more options. Then like maybe they wouldn't be low during most of the fights, they wouldn't get picked. So it's interesting to think what if, but like I don't know. I don't. It's strange, but anyhow, that's gonna wrap up this series. So I probably am recording for like over an hour now, so my voice is getting a little hoarse. But anyhow, I hope you guys like that. Maybe I'll do one of these again. I've done one before, but it was only a game, so this one's been an actual entire series. So it's fun to do, though my voice is killing me. But I don't know. I was thinking of doing the Burrito vs Fnatic one, the one where they brought out Vivian, but I haven't seen this one, so I figured I'd do this one so I could get like more, I don't know, more live analysis, I guess. So anyhow, that's gonna wrap it up from me. I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go get a glass of water.